My golden boy brother stole my fiancée. So I disappeared, and everything fell apart without me. I used to joke that my family had a favorite child. No one ever laughed. My older brother, Adrian, was the kind of person people wrote recommendation letters about without being asked. Star athlete in high school, full-ride scholarship, business degree before 22, engaged by 25 to a woman our parents called perfect. He was polished, confident, magnetic, everything you'd expect from the son my parents clearly wanted. Then there was me, Landon, the quiet one, the reliable one, the one who fixed things when Adrian broke them. Cars, leaky pipes, family arguments. I wasn't spectacular. I was just there, at least, until I met Clara. Clara didn't care that Adrian had the brighter smile or a louder laugh. She didn't care about appearances or family expectations. She liked that I remembered small things, that I brought her coffee without asking, that I listened. We met in college and took our time. 4 years of dating, a cheap apartment with paper-thin walls, late-night ramen dinners, shared dreams that felt fragile but real. When I proposed, it wasn't flashy. Just the two of us at a quiet overlook above the city. She cried. I cried. It was enough. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had something that was truly mine. Something Adrian couldn't touch. I should have known better. The first red flag was subtle. Adrian started showing up more often. At first, I thought it was just coincidence. He'd swing by our place unannounced, bringing expensive wine we couldn't afford, clapping me on the shoulder like we were suddenly close. He'd joke with Clara, too. Harmless stuff at first, little compliments, that easy charm people fell for without realizing it. Landon, you never told me Clara was this funny, he'd say, laughing a little too long at her jokes. Clara would smile politely, but I noticed the tightness in her shoulders. I noticed everything. Your brother's a lot, she told me one night after he left. That's Adrian, I said, trying to laugh it off. He doesn't really do boundaries. You might want to install some for him. I told her I would. I didn't. Wedding planning brought it all to a head. My parents insisted we host a big engagement party, something I didn't want but knew I couldn't argue against. Adrian offered to help organize, inserting himself into every decision. The venue somehow became one of his clients' properties. The guest list expanded to include people I barely knew but Adrian considered important connections. Even the speeches were unofficially reviewed by him beforehand. I felt like a spectator in my own engagement. Clara noticed. One night, she sat me down at our kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug of cooling tea. Landon, I need you to be honest with me, she said softly. Are we building a life together, or getting absorbed into your families? That question hit harder than anything. I can fix it, I told her. I'll talk to them. To Adrian. But deep down, I knew what that conversation would look like. Adrian smiling, brushing it off. My parents telling me not to be sensitive. Me backing down like I always did. Clara deserved better than that. I just didn't know how to be better. The night everything broke was the engagement party. It was held at this massive estate, all glass walls and chandeliers, the kind of place where you feel underdressed no matter what you wear. Clara looked stunning. I remember thinking that if I could just get through the night, things would stabilize. I was wrong. Adrian gave a speech. He stood there, glass in hand, commanding the room like he always did. People leaned in when he spoke. That was his gift. He didn't just talk, he owned attention. To my little brother, he began, smiling at me in a way that felt rehearsed. Landon's always been the steady one, the dependable one, the guy who shows up when everyone else is too busy being extraordinary. Some people laughed. I didn't. And Clara, he continued, turning toward her. You brought something out of him I didn't think anyone could, which is why he paused, letting the silence stretch. This next part is very hard for me. My stomach dropped. I tried to ignore it. I really did. Adrian said, voice softening. But the truth is, I've fallen in love with you. The room went silent. I swear I could hear my own heartbeat. Clara went pale. Adrian, stop. I mean it, he said, stepping closer to her. We have a connection. You feel it too. You don't have to pretend. What are you doing? I finally managed to say. He looked at me like I was the one interrupting something important. I'm being honest. For once, someone in this family is. That's my fiancée, I snapped. And she's not happy, he shot back immediately. You know it. I know it. Everyone sees it. Gaslighting. In front of everyone. I turned to Clara. Tell him he's wrong. Her silence lasted maybe 3 seconds. It felt like a lifetime. She started, voice shaking. Landon. That was all I needed to hear. Something inside me shut down. Not exploded. Not broke. Just shut off. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I just nodded once, set my drink down, and walked out. I didn't go home. I didn't call anyone. I drove. For hours. The only thought looping in my mind was simple. I was never going to win this. Not against Adrian. Not against a lifetime of being second best. Not even against my own hesitation. By sunrise, I had made a decision. If my presence meant being overshadowed, undermined, and eventually replaced, then I'd remove myself entirely. I left my phone on the dashboard of my car at a gas station 2 states away. I quit my job via email. I emptied my small savings account and withdrew cash. And then I disappeared. No forwarding address. No explanations. Nothing. At first, the silence was terrifying. I kept expecting my phone to buzz, forgetting I no longer had one. I kept looking over my shoulder like Adrian might show up and somehow drag me back into that life. But slowly, something unexpected happened. I started to breathe. Without constant comparison, I didn't feel small anymore. Without my family's expectations, I didn't feel trapped. I picked up freelance work under a different name. Rented a tiny place in a city where no one knew me. It wasn't glamorous, but it was peaceful. For the first time since I was a kid, I felt in control. It should have ended there. It almost did, until 3 months later when I saw his face on a TV in a diner. Local entrepreneur's engagement sparks controversy, the headline read. Adrian stood in front of cameras, looking less polished than I'd ever seen him. Beside him, Clara. My chest tightened. People at the counter were talking about it. Didn't his brother vanish or something? One guy said. Yeah, whole thing's weird. Heard the bride-to-be bailed for a bit too. I leaned closer, pretending to read the menu. Sources say the younger brother, Landon S., hasn't been seen since the night of the engagement party. Family claims they're concerned for his well-being. Concerned. That almost made me laugh. Then a reporter said something that made my stomach drop. And now, new developments suggest the situation may not be as straightforward as initially believed. Close friends allege that Clara has ended the engagement with Adrian, citing manipulation and pressure. I froze. Wait, what? The screen cut to a clip of Clara leaving a building, paparazzi shouting questions. Is it true you regret what happened with Landon? She didn't answer, but the look on her face, that wasn't guilt. That was devastation. I paid for my coffee and walked out into the cold air, my mind racing. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. In my version of events, Adrian got the life he always wanted. My parents rallied behind him. Clara forgot about me eventually. Everyone moved on, but that wasn't what was happening. Something had gone wrong. For him. For all of them. And for the first time since I left, I had a choice to make. Stay gone and never know the truth. Or go back and finally face everything I ran from. I thought disappearing would end the story. Turns out, it was only the beginning. Update 1. Turns out my absence broke more than just me. I lasted exactly 4 days after seeing that news clip. For days of trying to convince myself it wasn't my problem anymore. For days of reminding myself why I left. How humiliated I'd felt standing there while my brother dismantled my relationship like it was nothing. But then the questions started creeping in. Why did Clara leave Adrian? What manipulation was she talking about? And most importantly, what the hell actually happened after I walked out? So I broke my own rule. I didn't go home. I didn't call my parents. I didn't even contact Clara. Instead, I reached out to the one person in my old life who never treated me like a side character. My cousin Marcus. If Adrian was the golden boy, Marcus was the one who saw through him. They never got along, mostly because Marcus didn't buy into the family's Adrian can do no wrong narrative. If anyone knew the truth, it was him. I created a new email account and sent one message. It's me. Don't tell anyone. I need to know what happened after I left. I didn't expect a quick reply. I was wrong. 5 minutes later, My inbox pinged. Landon? Are you alive? Where are you? I stared at the screen, heart pounding. Then typed back, I'm fine. Just tell me what happened. There was a longer pause this time. When Marcus responded, his message was blunt. You walking out? That's when everything blew up. Apparently, the second I left, the party turned into chaos. Clara had tried to follow me, but Adrian stopped her. Physically. He grabbed her arm, Marcus wrote. Not like super violent, but enough that people noticed. She freaked out. Good. For once, people saw something. That wasn't even the worst part. According to Marcus, Adrian didn't back down after I left. He doubled down. He kept telling everyone you'd overreacted, that you'd always had insecurity issues, that this was proof you weren't ready for marriage. I could practically hear his voice saying it. Calm, rational, believable. And your parents backed him up, Marcus added. Of course they did. But then came the twist I didn't see coming. Clara snapped. Marcus wrote. Like completely. Told everyone Adrian had been texting her for weeks behind her back. I sat up straighter. What? Not just friendly texts. Marcus continued. I mean full on you deserve better stuff. Late night calls. Trying to get her alone. My stomach twisted. Did she ever? I started typing, then stopped. I didn't need to ask. Marcus answered anyway. She shut him down. Every time. I've seen the messages. That hit me harder than I expected. Because in the moment at the party, I hadn't trusted her. Not fully. Not enough to stay. And now that realization was crawling under my skin. After she told everyone, Marcus continued. Adrian lost it. Started saying she was lying. That you'd turned her against him. Total meltdown. I've never seen him like that. And my parents? I asked. There was a long pause before Marcus replied. They still took his side. Said Clara was trying to save face. Of course they did. But Clara didn't stick around for that. She gave the ring back, Marcus wrote. Left right there. Wouldn't talk to anyone after. I exhaled slowly. So, she hadn't chosen Adrian. She'd chosen herself. And I hadn't been there. Then came the part that explained the news. Adrian's reputation took a hit, Marcus said. Big one. People started talking. Some business deals backed off. Not officially, but enough that it hurt. For the first time in his life, Adrian had consequences. Not because of me, but because of his own actions. And you, Marcus added, you disappearing made it worse. People think something really bad happened. Your parents are spinning it like you're taking time for your mental health, but no one's buying it. I leaned back in my chair, trying to process everything. The narrative I'd built in my head, the one where I was the only casualty, wasn't real. My absence hadn't just removed me from the equation. It had exposed everything. And now, the situation wasn't resolved. It was unraveling. Marcus's next message made my chest tighten. Clara's been looking for you, by the way. I froze. What do you mean? I typed. He replied almost immediately. She's contacted everyone. Me, friend from college, even your old boss. She thinks your family knows where you are and isn't telling her. I stared at the screen, heart racing. What? I asked. Marcus's response was simple. Because she thinks you left believing her silence meant something it didn't. Update 2. I went back, and she wasn't the person I left. I didn't respond to Marcus right away. I sat there staring at his last message. She thinks you left believing her silence meant something it didn't. And for the first time since everything happened, I felt something worse than anger. Regret. Because he was right. I had taken her silence as an answer. I hadn't waited for her to speak. I hadn't given her the chance to fight for us. I saw hesitation, and instead of asking questions, I ran. And now she'd been trying to find me for months. I wish I could say I made some big, dramatic decision. I didn't. I just got in my car and drove home. Pulling back into my hometown felt like stepping into a life I'd watched from the outside for years. Nothing had really changed. Same quiet streets. Same coffee shop on the corner. Same house at the end of the cul-de-sac where I'd spent my whole life feeling like a placeholder. I didn't go to my parents' house. Not yet. Instead, I went to the one place I knew she'd go if she needed space. The Overlook. The same one where I proposed. It was stupid to expect she'd actually be there. But she was, sitting on the same old bench, knees pulled in, staring out at the city like it might give her answers. For a second, I just stood there, Because the Clara I remembered felt farther away than the miles between us ever had. Then she turned, and everything stopped. Her eyes met mine, and she didn't look shocked. She looked like she'd been waiting. "You took your time," she said softly. My chest tightened. "You knew I'd come back?" She gave a small, tired smile. Not at first, but after a while, it felt like something unfinished was still pulling at me. I stepped closer, but not too close. There was too much between us. "I saw the news," I said, "about you and Adrian." Her expression fell slightly. "Yeah, that." A long silence stretched between us. This was the moment, the one I'd been running from. So I forced myself not to screw it up again. "I should have stayed," I said. "That night. I should have given you the chance to explain." She shook her head immediately. "You were blindsided. I don't blame you for leaving." "But I do," I said quietly. "Because I left you there, alone, with him, with my family. I made a decision for both of us without even asking you what was true." That hit. I could see it in the way her shoulders dropped. "I tried to go after you," she admitted, "right after you left. But he stopped me. And by the time I got away," she swallowed, "you were gone." I nodded slowly. "Marcus told me about the messages," I said. "Then you know I never—" "I know," I interrupted. "And that's on me for not trusting you." She looked at me then, really looked like she was trying to figure out if I meant it. After a moment, she asked the question I'd been avoiding. "Why did you disappear?" I exhaled slowly. "Because staying meant fighting a battle I'd been losing my whole life," I said. "Against him, against my parents, against always being second." Her voice softened. "You weren't second to me. I know that now," I said. "But back then, I didn't believe I could ever be enough if you wanted what I had." Silence again. But this time, it wasn't heavy. It was honest. "So what now?" she asked. That was the question, wasn't it? Because coming back didn't magically fix anything. My family was still my family. Adrian was still Adrian. And even if Clara and I untangled everything between us, that history didn't just disappear. "I don't know," I admitted. And for the first time in my life, that felt okay. Update 3. My family finally faced consequences, and it was worse than I expected. If I thought seeing Clara again was the hard part, I was wrong. Going back to my parents' house was. Marcus insisted on being there, probably so I wouldn't walk out halfway through. When I stepped inside, it felt like stepping onto a stage where I already knew my role. Except this time, I wasn't playing it. My mom cried the second she saw me. My dad tried to keep it together, but even he looked shaken. And Adrian looked different. Not broken, but cracked. Like something in him had finally been exposed, and he didn't know how to put it back together. "Landon," my mom said, rushing toward me. "Where have you been?" "We were worried sick." "I doubt that," I said calmly. The room went quiet. That alone would have shocked them. But I wasn't done. "I left because of what happened that night," I continued, "and everything that led up to it." My dad frowned. "Son, we've been over this. Adrian made a mistake, but you disappearing—" "No," I cut him off. "You don't get to minimize it." I could feel Marcus watching from the side, probably stunned I wasn't backing down. "For years," I said, voice steady, "you've let him cross lines. Mine, other people's. And every time, you clean it up for him." "That's not fair," my mom said weakly. "It's accurate." Adrian let out a sharp breath. "You're really going to stand there and act like you're the victim?" I turned to him, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel smaller. "You try to take my fiancée," I said, in public, after weeks of going behind my back. He scoffed, but it sounded forced. "She wasn't happy with you. She left you," I replied calmly. That landed. Hard. Silence snapped across the room. "You don't get to rewrite the story anymore," I added. "Not with me." For a second, I thought he'd lash out again. Instead, he laughed, but there was no confidence in it. "Congrats," he said bitterly. "You disappear for a few months and suddenly grow a spine." "No," I said. "I just stopped needing your approval." And that broke something. Not in me, in him. Because for the first time, Adrian had no angle, no charm, no control over the narrative. Just consequences. Final update. I didn't get my old life back. I built a better one. It's been 6 months. And if you're expecting some perfect fairy tale ending, this isn't that. It's better. Because it's real. Clara and I didn't jump back into things. We didn't pretend nothing happened. We talked a lot about that night, about trust, about the fact that we both failed each other in different ways. And slowly, we started over. No engagement, no expectations, just two people choosing each other again without pressure. This time it's stronger because it's built on truth, not assumptions. As for my family, things changed, but not overnight. My parents didn't suddenly transform into perfect people, but they stopped pretending Adrian was untouchable because the outside world didn't let them. His reputation took a permanent hit, not career-ending, but enough that he's no longer the golden one. Just human, flawed, accountable. We don't talk much, and honestly, that's fine. For the first time, I don't feel like I'm standing in a shadow, because I stepped out of it. And me? I didn't go back to being who I was. I didn't move back home. I didn't slip into my old life. I built a new one, closer to where I'd been living before. A job I actually chose. A life that isn't defined by comparison. And the biggest difference? I don't run anymore. Not from conflict. Not from hard conversations. Not from the people I care about. The night I proposed to Clara, I thought that was the moment my life finally became mine. I was wrong. It wasn't about getting something no one else could take. It was about becoming someone no one else could overshadow. And losing everything, that's what forced me to do it. So yeah, my golden boy brother tried to steal my fiancée, and I walked away from everything. But in the end, he didn't take my life from me. He showed me I needed to build a better one. And this time, it's actually mine.